Ryan Schultz here from E39 Source in San Diego, California. This is another service and review on a 2001 BMW E39 M5. This one's titanium silver with a black leather sport interior and every option available on the E39 M5. This M5 is actually owned by the same gentleman with the E46 M3, the Imola red one we posted the other day. He's a lucky guy. He's got a great collection of M cars. This car came in shortly after the M3. We did a similar process on this vehicle. So we started with our multi-point inspection, uncovering anything and everything that was shy of perfect, and we've done our best to turn those weaknesses into strong points. I've got a cheat sheet of the services delivered here in my hands, and I'm going to attempt to put these in a more logical order, going through the engine bay, body, interior, and mechanical items. Let's get a peek inside to start. We'll see this car is in beautiful, beautiful condition. This is a 55,000 mile example in the last 22 years, and it really shows. These seatbelt buckles back here still looking new. Nice bright shiny red, no fading. The leather's smooth and virtually flawless. Door panel armrest handles are nice and plump, no marks, no scratches. That's what having a lack of kids in the back seat will do. All the sunshades work. Windows are just lightly tinted to protect that interior. It's a beautiful car in and out. In the front, we'll see more of the same. Nice clean buckles, absolutely gorgeous seats. Barely look like they've ever been sat in. Of course, an Alcantara headliner being a 2001. And the only aftermarket thing we've got here is a phone mount. So let's start up at the engine bay and the engine, talk about some mechanicals in that general area on the car. First thing actually starts with the latch that opens the hood. Customer said it was difficult to get out, but kind of par for the course on these. You do need to lift the hood a little bit. That'll finish the pop here. That's real normal, but it's nice and easy to pull now. Before, that was really difficult. It was kind of seized. So some good cleaning and lubrication up on that hinge has restored functionality. Talk about a clean engine bay. So we kind of started with basics, filters and fluids, and you name it, we've done it. We've got a coolant flush, fresh coolant bottle here. These are known to yellow over time, so we replaced that for cosmetic reasons. When we change the coolant, we drain it out of the block too. You might as well get as much as you can, and that's a biannual service as recommended by BMW. Underneath the expansion tank is the AUC sensor, or air quality control sensor. He had a code for that stored, so we've replaced that sensor. We've got fresh, genuine air filters here in both engine boxes as well as the cabin boxes. Cabin boxes were a little dirty inside, so we took those out, put them in the parts cleaner, got everything perfectly cleaned. And on the E39, you've got to mind the sandwich, as I call it. The cowl needs to sit on top of the lower cabin boxes here for the water flow. And this was incorrect on at least one side, so that's been restored. We performed an engine oil change using Castrol 10W60 and did a Blackstone engine oil analysis. We also changed the power steering reservoir mounts as well as the fluid. The fuel filter has been done preventatively. It was original at 55,000 miles and 22 years of age. Par for the course on the E39, we've got a fresh fan clutch and blades. A little surprising on a lower mileage car like this, but these oil separator, oil return hoses here were real soft. You can kind of just give these a little pinch, and if they stay pinched, or you can easily press it so far that the hose touches in the center there, those need to be replaced. Another standard E39 service up here, these engine firewall trims are known to pretty much just disintegrate. Their proximity to the exhaust system is just too close. They get hot, they get very brittle. So we've gone ahead and replaced those with new factory parts. This engine was a little dirty down low from years of probably sloppy oil changes and small minor leaks from things like the valve covers. So we went ahead and cleaned the whole engine best as we can with everything in the car. And we ended up doing the valve cover gaskets as well as the evaporative purge valve under the intake manifold on this engine. With the valve covers off, it was a great time to refresh the plugs, so those have been done as well. Often overlooked item are these short brake hoses here at the ABS module. I'm using the UUC brand stainless steel lines now as opposed to the ECS tuning ones. The ECS tuning ones I used for years without issue, but the most recent batch seems to have an incorrect fitting that they're unfortunately unwilling to acknowledge at this point. So we're off to UUC. They come in a pack of 6, 2 for the ABS module, then those replace the soft hoses at each caliper as well. Of course, we follow up that job with a brake fluid change. Like on his M3, we went ahead and replaced the hood and trunk struts. It's easy to tell on the E39, you should be able to lower the hood about halfway, and it should stay there by itself. Give it a little push up, it should spring open. If those are original, the amount of time they've spent pressurized and just thermal cycles of being near the engine pretty much prohibits that operation. More or less the same deal back here at the trunk. Open that, give it a little push, it should spring all the way open. And a better way to test is how low can it go before it starts to fall. We're at quite a low angle there. And to close it, we can just give it a little push. This vehicle was missing or had broken clips along some of these washer duct hoses, so we went ahead and replaced all those clips for him. Kidney grills on this M5 were held in with some sort of butyl tape, really sticky, black, gooey tape. That's not right. They're supposed to be clipped in with plastic clips, but of course all of those were broken. So we've got fresh kidney grills as well as a fresh roundel on this car. Let's move on to some body-related items. First thing that stands out up here are these headlights. These are the hella European style lights with the clear corners, beautifully fresh clear lenses, and those do come with all new bulbs as well. Freshly aimed, we've got brand new headlights looking amazing. We move on to the wheels, genuine BMW style 65 staggered wheels. These have been refinished in chrome shadow. These over here in the sun are a little brighter, just due to lighting conditions. Look absolutely magnificent. In my opinion, the only wheel for this car. They've got to be in a good original finish. Both the front and rear windshield gaskets have been replaced. Generally, they start to deteriorate in the upper corners, get a lot of cracking in here. Fresh ones just go a long way in making the exterior of the car look fresh. We also got a fresh set of Bosch wiper blades. The right side mirror glass would only actuate in one direction, so a fresh mirror actuator restored proper functionality of the mirror. Here in the trunk, we did a few services. There's still personal items in the trunk here, so I'm not going to film everything. But that foam piece that hinges near the tire compressor was missing, so that's been replaced. There are also a handful of tools that were not in their proper position or missing entirely, so we went ahead and filled that out as best as possible. We've got the 10 mil in there, as well as the spark plug socket, wheel hanger, pliers, screwdriver, tow hook, spanners, and lug wrench. One thing I specifically look for in the inspection are the clips that hold this carpeting onto the trunk lid itself. It's real common for these to be damaged or broken during previous services. He had a couple that were missing or broken here, and this was too easy to pull out, so those have been replaced. Make the carpet nice and tight on the lid. The clear coat on the trunk roundel was fading and splintering, so that's been replaced. And over here at the fuel door, we'll take a peek inside, see virtually no rust. That's about as good as you'll find. Of course, the tether was broken, so we had to replace the cap. Back to the interior, we've got quite a few things here, so I'll try to get through it without missing anything. We'll start down here at that sill. That sill plate's been replaced, as well as the door gasket. These are known to fray right here along the B-pillar and kind of just look nasty going inside the car, so that's nice and new. As you opened and closed this driver's door, you could hear a clicking or ticking from the door brake or the door hinge. That's this piece right here. If you pop off this rubber piece, you'll find a pin that holds the door brake onto the chassis. Sometimes you can get away with just replacing the pin. This one needed a whole new door brake. So that meant removing the door panel, re-gluing anything loose in terms of the vinyl or the carpet panels, removing and resealing the vapor barrier, and of course replacing the door brake hinge. The pedal box sealing, as I call it, was incorrectly installed on this car. As you'll see, there's a bit of a tab here in the dead pedal. Sealing needs to sit on top of that. Then on the right side, near the gong speaker, there's a bit of a hook that comes down. It needs to be sandwiched in between this carpet panel and the console. That was incorrect as well. Also down here, we noted that the clutch stop was missing, but the screw was still threaded in there. I don't know how those get broken, but we see it pretty often, so that's a new clutch stop. Here in the center console, we've replaced both the armrest tray and handle. These are fairly affordable pieces that are not entirely difficult to replace and go a long way in freshening up the interior. The center dashboard vent on this car had a crack in it, so that's been replaced as well. The owner was having an issue accessing this little power door here, and it turns out that the wiring for this socket was actually jammed up in the mechanism. Someone had installed that in the past incorrectly. So we removed the center console and shift boot assembly here, corrected the wiring route, and now that works as designed. The right side Alcantara A-pillar, as most E39s do these days, had a broken clip in the center, which caused the trim to significantly bow in towards the windshield. So that A-pillar has been replaced. And we'll see now, it is a perfect fitment. Somebody had replaced just one of the instrument cluster bulbs in the past, and that meant you had a bright spot in relation to the rest. So we went ahead and removed the cluster and replaced all 5 bulbs, so all the illumination is even. With the cluster out, we noted that the cluster bezel trim, as many of them are, have broken plastic tabs where it attaches to the dash below these trim panels. So we've got a new cluster bezel in here, as well as a new fog light bezel, as that completely disintegrated upon removal. Like his M3, this M5 mirror had a bubble up at the top, so that was removed and sublet for repair. On the passenger side of the car, we've got a fresh M5 logo door sill here as well. In addition to the kick plate had some various scuffs and damage. And just like the driver's side, a fresh door gasket around the perimeter opening on the chassis. The rear center console cubby has been replaced. The original one had nearly faded to gray. Nearly all M5s with Alcantara now have light gray rear parcel shelves. This one had faded reasonably, not terribly, but we had it out for another service. Actually, the sunshade was not properly installed in the parcel shelf. The nuts were loose, creating a lot of rattling noise. So while it was out, we went ahead and had that recovered in Alcantara, which matches the headliner flawlessly and is now nice and dark again. On to the mechanical items. The customer asked that we replace the battery with a new genuine BMW battery, so that's been done. And like the M3, we've wired in the C-Tech charger, so it'll be easy to keep charged up. In the front, we noticed a slight ticking from the front left wheel bearing, so both wheel bearings have been replaced with new genuine BMW bearings. Front curved control arms have been replaced as well. Those inner bushings are known to wear pretty prematurely, really between 30 and 40,000 miles. What you'll notice there is the steering wheel gets a bit of a shimmy, a light shake at right about 50 miles an hour, say 48 to 52 miles per hour. And assuming it's not tire balance or an alignment issue, it's almost always those curved arm inner big end bushings. We also replaced all 4 rear upper control arms using the toe arms from the E52 Z8, which use a ball joint instead of a pressed in bushing. We removed the exhaust and drive shaft on this car for a deeper service. This included replacing all the shifter carrier bushings and hardware. We had installed an E60 545i shifter in here a few years ago, but not done the bushings. And even on a 55,000 mile car, you'll notice a significantly tighter shifter with fresh bushings in there. With the drive shaft out, we did the flex disc, center support bearing, CV joint, all related hardware. And finally here, as you've probably noticed throughout the video, the paint on this car looks incredible. And that's because it also went down to Elite Finish here in San Diego for their full restoration package. That includes paint correction, compounding, polishing, and following up with a ceramic coating. This process makes a huge difference in the way the car looks in any lighting conditions. Outside under the sun is probably the best way to see it. The whole car is just so clean, smooth. It just looks factory new again. It's shiny and glossy. No more swirl scratches. It makes a profound difference. On a little personal note here at the end of the video, this was one of the first cars that I serviced as the 39 Source transitioned to service from parts. And I actually installed this Eisenman Race 4x76mm exhaust as well as the Rogue Engineering X-Pipe. It's the exact same setup that my own E39 M5 has. And it's been a pleasure and kind of a full circle moment to have this come back in and go through our whole process, starting with the inspection and then working with the customer to determine a service plan based on timeline and budget and priorities and the usual life factors. But it's been an honor to transform this car into the best E39 M5 example that it can be, and I think the customer's going to be really happy with it. Getting it back here in early June, he's going to have a great summer with this beautiful M5. That's going to wrap up this one, guys. No fear, we've got plenty more cars to go. Got to get an update on my 540 as well as M5. That's not my M5, it's out back. But thank you for watching this one. We'll talk in the next E39 Source video. Take care.